Blindspotting is directed by Carlos Lopez Estrada and stars David Diggs and Rafael Casal, and is about these two friends that have known each other pretty much all of their lives. One of them has 3 days left on his probation, and the other one is a bit of a loose cannon and can kind of get into trouble very, very easily, and may or may not be the reason why his other friend is on probation in the first place. This movie surprised the hell out of me. I loved almost every single thing about this film, and I immediately want to see it again. If you've never heard of this film, I highly recommend you check it out, because you are missing out on probably one of the best films of the year. The performances and writing in this movie are on top form, and the fact that the two main actors, David Diggs and Rafael Casal, wrote the movie as well, goes to show that they know these characters really well, and they do the best that they can with those characters and flesh them out and make the most of them, or get the most out of them during the film's runtime in this script. And I mean, where do I begin? Like I said, the writing is just fantastic. Every single moment feels very real and natural, but whether it's the characters or just generally what is going on around them. And the writing just really captures that sense really, really, really easily, and I just love that about this movie. I also really loved how this movie can go from one thing to another really smoothly. One scene will just be absolutely hilarious, because there are some quite funny moments in this film. And it will, like for example, you have one scene that is really, really funny, and then the next scene will feature some really hard-hitting, powerful stuff. But it never feels jarring when it switches between the two. It feels very natural. It flows in a way that feels right for the story and for the movie, but also feels very natural and realistic in terms of the way these characters move between these scenes as well. And I absolutely love that about this movie. The other thing that cements this whole aspect of the film is the performances as well. Rafael Casal and David Diggs are brilliant together. David Diggs plays Colin, the one who's on probation. He's fantastic. I also loved the inclusion of rapping in the movie occasionally, because the two main characters are, movers, they're removal guys, and every so often when they're moving stuff, they will just freestyle rap about the stuff that's around them. And I really like that subtle inclusion, because it works for their friendship. They've known each other for so long, and they can, do that kind of thing and say things to each other that you may not be able to say to other people that you may not know that well. And I really like that whole thing, and I like how it plays a bigger role, this whole rapping thing, later on in the film. I won't say why, but it's just things like that I like about, minute little details that play a bigger part in the story when they need to for specific characters. I also really liked Rafael Casal as Miles, the one who's a bit unhinged and can kind of snap at any moment. I thought he was fantastic. He has one of the most hilarious scenes in the entire film, probably one of my favourite scenes of the year, where he's trying to sell these things to these women at a salon. It's fucking hilarious. But yeah, they both together work really well, and when they're not together, they're still fantastic. And yeah, the characters they have written here feel like genuinely real people, and I think that is a double hit combo of their performances and the way that those characters are written. They make them feel like normal people, and no matter what kind of shit they get into, you really do feel for them. However, my favourite aspect of this movie by far is the editing and its direction. The editing in this movie is fucking perfect. It nails the pacing to a T, and I absolutely loved how the whole look and feel of the movie, especially in its editing and presentation, is very stylish and snappy. But because these characters are grounded in reality, it makes everything you're seeing still grounded in a sense of reality, even though these shots and the way it's cut together is very snappy and stylish. Do you get what I mean? Though you have all these flashy things being shown to you and they are really cool and effective, it's the characters that still ground it in a sense of realism, which is one thing that I loved about this film. Now, I only have two nitpicks with this movie. One is to do with the film specifically, and the other is nothing to do with the film per se, it's more to do with how it's distributed. The nitpick regarding the film is that there is one scene in particular where there is quite a bit of shaky cam that is very noticeable. It's not too much of a distraction, but once you notice it, it is there, and it doesn't detract from what is happening in that scene. So that's why it's not that big of a deal in my opinion, but I just thought I'd mention it. The other thing that I don't quite get about this movie, and again, it's nothing to do with the movie exactly, it's to do with how it's being distributed, and it's the fact that this movie is constantly stuck in a limited release state. In the UK, this movie is only showing for this week and then it's gone. Well, at least where I saw it, that's what's happening. And even when it was in America, it was kind of in a case of, it's in one town for one day, and then if you don't see it, you miss it. Which is a real shame. I was expecting it to have a much wider release, because a movie like this kind of needs to be seen by as many people as possible, because it really is fantastic. And some of the themes that it tries to present and get across are really important, and I think a lot more people need to see it. But limiting it to such a constricting release state, I guess, means that hardly anyone's going to see it. The screening I went to, there was only a couple of people in there, including myself, which is a real shame, because I think a lot more people need to see this film. But apart from that, this movie is incredible. It's one of my favourites of the year, without a doubt, and I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. It may move to a 9 in the future if I ever watch it again, but at this moment in time, that's what I'm going to give it. If you can and have the opportunity to go and see this film, I highly recommend it. So guys, that was my review of Blindspotting. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bye.